Tonight, fleeing the flames.
We had the crews in there and they saved many, many homes.
Homes destroyed, residents ordered to leave. We're live with the latest on a raging wildfire in the Okanagan. And he's accused of killing his own mother. Now, a murder suspect comes face to face with the father he allegedly wanted dead too.
This is CTV News.
Good evening. A wildfire that has destroyed several homes in the Okanagan community of Peachland is still burning tonight, still out of control. CTV News at 6 anchor Tamara Taggart is on assignment with breaking news tonight. And Tamara, hundreds of people under evacuation order are just learning they can go home tonight?
That's right, Mike. 1,100 people are breathing a giant sigh of relief right now. For them, the evacuation order has been lifted thanks in large part to the amazing work of the firefighters. The 200-hectare fire is only 50% contained. Today, crews made good progress, but it wasn't enough to save 4 homes. Chopper 9 flew over the fire zone for an aerial perspective. Firefighters say Mother Nature helped with cooler temperatures and higher humidity. Helicopters and water bombers attacked the flames, while firefighters on the ground battled the blaze on foot and with heavy equipment. About 400 people are still out of their homes. CTV's Okanagan Bureau Chief Kent Mulgat begins our coverage with a closer look at the damage and the intense effort by firefighters here in Peachland to gain the upper hand.
Charred remains are all that's left of a log home in Peachland, and the neighboring carriage home is also destroyed.
We trained for years, they trained for years to save houses, to save property, and then when you lose one, it tugs at your heart. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the business.
While at the nearby Working Horse Winery, a home was burned completely to the ground, and the vineyards themselves also took the brunt. Counting an unoccupied older home, 4 were lost. The ruins of the homes as far as 3 kilometers from where the wildfire broke out yesterday. The fire moved that distance in an hour and a half, fueled by intense winds. Firefighters couldn't stop it. At the peak of its fury, the fire burned so intensely it began to generate so much smoke the aircraft could no longer bomb it from above. While on the ground, municipal crews did everything they could to hold their ground, even working directly in the fire's path.
They saved many, many homes. The wind blew the fires into those homes. They tried to save them as best they could. With the apparatus, the water they had on board, they tried their best to save them. They saved many homes, but unfortunately, there was some that they did not save.
I witnessed the fire department in front in some cases, and our bucket ships were supporting them to make sure they were safe while they're protecting certain homes.
Today, with a portion of the perimeter of the wildfire still burning out of control, the top priority is putting out burning trees and hotspots near homes. Last night, for over 1,500 evacuees, for some, it was just an inconvenience.
So we're going to be a while before they call our number.
Others wondered if they would have a home to return to.
I was kind of scared, for my house. I don't know what's going on.
Do you know that your house is okay?
I have no clue still.
The owners of these 2 homes were informed of their loss today, but the people who were out here last night say there very easily could have been more.
Our crew saved a lot of houses, yeah, with us and the air support.
Retardant was dropped right onto some homes. It's believed that saved a few. In other cases, it was just luck as the fire cut so close, taking out outbuildings and leaving homes standing. The fire is just 50% contained, but it's hoped that for this fire, 4 homes is enough.
And Kent, we're noticing a lot less smoke in behind us. I mean, there was quite a bit this morning when we were here, and most of the day. Any clues on the cause of this fire?
Well, I don't know precisely about a cause, but we have a pretty good idea of where it started. At the end of the Trepanier Creek Valley, just where Trepanier Road meets up with Highway 97C, we've seen investigators for 2 days poring over one piece of ground. It would be consistent with a cigarette butt tossed out the window, but we have yet to hear exactly what got this thing started.
All right, thanks a lot, Kent. And while some evacuees prepare to return home tonight and about 400 others wait for the green light, a few have come to grips with the reality that their homes are no longer standing. CTV's Scott Roberts has that part of the story.
This is our winery right here.
Walter Huber pores over aerial footage, learning for the first time that his home and his winery are still standing. This the last image he snapped before fleeing. he wasn't sure it would still be there.
It looks like we are still okay there. It looks like there's some fires in here, and it looks like there has been some burning over in here, as you can see. But the winery building is right over in here, so that one looks still okay.
The news is much worse for his neighbors. This log home ravaged by fire, and this home on the former Working Horse winery gutted. Tillman Heinley lived there for 40 years before selling the property in May. We reached him by phone.
I helped build that house and grew up in it. Still quite heart-wrenching to see it just being consumed within a very short period of time.
And some witnessed it firsthand. John Hannaberry ignored the evacuation order to protect his home.
It was scary. It was very scary. Hearing houses around me explode, like two blocks up, you hear the houses explode.
For some of those who fled, the night was a long one. Amanda Elliott and her family spent much of it at Tim Hortons. They say they had nowhere else to go.
I was like in tears and in anxiety watching all the people all over the road and just like freaking out. I started to cry because I felt so alone.
As the fight against the fire continues, so does the wait for many, anxious to get a glimpse of the aftermath, but glad it wasn't worse.
Part of me is like, we've got what stuff is important to us. I mean, now it's just, they're material item things, right? So it's out of our control.
Meantime, Walter Huber is thankful he can see what's left of his property and glad it's still there.
It's just amazing. Like I was standing up there when the fire started, and I just couldn't believe how quick it actually went everywhere.
And Scott, we've both been here all day speaking to evacuees. What have you been hearing?
Well, most people are really just desperate to get back into their homes. You know, it's one thing to be able to hear from officials that most of the homes are okay. It's another thing to see it firsthand. You know, people are coming up to us at evacuation centers, even here on the highway, people stopping, asking us for information. You know, we did the best we could to help them out. We showed Walter that video of his property, but again, it's something else to see it for themselves, to see it firsthand. And fortunately tonight, many families are going to be able to do just that.
Yeah, it's interesting. A few people that I spoke to, they already had bags packed, like they were expecting something like this to happen.
It's true, and that's what people in this part of BC are used to. I mean, they are used to wildfires. They're used to it happening. Most of them are prepared. They're ready for this, but again, nothing fully prepares you, I don't think, and that's what we're hearing from people for something like this that happens so quickly and so aggressively. And so most are happy to see what we see in behind us tonight, and that this fire appears to be more under control, at least than it was for a lot of the day.
And about 1,100 people happy to go home tonight.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks a lot, Scott. Well, one of the evacuees is the mayor of Peachland himself. I'll have his story, plus a rancher's desperate search for a lost calf. That's coming up a little later on CTV News at 6. But first, let's go back to Mike in Vancouver.
All right, Tamara, thank you very much. Meteorologist Michael Koos is tracking the all-important weather conditions in Peachland. And Michael, what's ahead for those fire crews there?
You know what? There is some good news, Mike, and that's the winds tapering off. Not so much more precipitation. And this starts off with the radar, taking us back to early this morning, through the morning hours and into the afternoon. Most of the consistent precipitation was a little farther to the north, through the Kelowna area, but down toward Peachland, just a little band of light precip through around the 4 to 5 a.m. hour, and then that was about it. Now, here's what it looks like through the next 24 hours. Very quiet. Nothing really happening in the way of precipitation over that period. Here's what we saw in the way of maximum wind gusts today, and it is still breezy out there currently. Winds pushing 40 kilometers per hour in Kelowna, in Penticton, down to Osuyu. So through the entire region, we're seeing 40+ kilometer per hour winds, and that's still expected through the evening period. These bubbles of purple showing that strong wind, but by about 10 p.m., everything will taper off.
Still to come, a 21st century way to put out fires.
As you can see, it's burning very hot.
It's a new type of fire retardant that actually takes the heat out of the fire.
And you feel no heat? I feel no heat under my hand.
This you have to see next.
Emergency responders in Metro Vancouver are being armed with a new tool that can help save lives, and it's a technology you might also consider for your own home.
My hand is covered in cold fire, and this cloth is covered in cold fire. And as you can see, it's burning very hot.
5,000 degrees hot, in fact. Yet Cold Fire President Grant Pearson's bare hand is protected.
And you feel no heat? I feel no heat under my hand. As a matter of fact, Linda, if you want, you can see that we went through the cloth a little bit, but you can feel the cloth underneath
Wow, I'm holding the cloth and I absolutely can feel just a tiny, tiny bit of heat. Metro Vancouver firefighters are training with the Cold Fire product. While most fire extinguishers smother the flames, Cold Fire takes the heat out of the flames, and that could mean the difference between life and death in a vehicle fire.
Cold Fire will actually take away the BTUs, the heat, around the person and the individual that's doing the rescuing to allow them to get into the vehicle, get that person out.
That is the ethanol, and boy.
The non-toxic plant-based product is also saving lives on professional racetracks and being used by emergency workers on both sides of the border. Cold Fire was used to put out this plane crash fire in Richmond last year. And BC police are using the product too. After the Stanley Cup mayhem last year, it was decided firefighters would be embedded in riot squads in the future. And they may soon be equipped with Cold Fire backpacks.
What he's wearing here is a new tactical backpack that is a totally self-contained fire extinguishing system.
Deputy Fire Chief Joe Foster is impressed with what he's seen so far.
The backpack is extremely effective, easy to carry, it's very comfortable, so we're looking at every option that we have.
And as more communities face the threat posed by wildfires, homeowners may consider dousing their properties in a spin-off product called Fire Block that repels the flames.
It gives you that thermal protective barrier, where as you can see, it won't allow fire to spread.
You're watching CTV News.
And to our top story now, that aggressive wildfire in the Okanagan. Tamara Taggart anchoring our continuing coverage of the state of emergency in Peachland. Tamara, over to you.
Mike, wind isn't helping the firefighting efforts today, although firefighters are making progress that's led to a partial lifting of the evacuation order here. The blaze is still just 50% contained, and Fire Chief Grant Topham says the gusts of wind are acting like flamethrowers. Despite the valiant efforts of fire crews, 4 homes have burned. The ruins are up to 3 kilometers from where the wildfire broke out yesterday. And late this afternoon, I caught up with one of the evacuees from Peachland, and he just happens to be the mayor. Keith Fielding spoke with us and other Peachland residents at the evacuation center in West Kelowna about the firefighters on the front line and their heroic efforts to save homes.
I was thinking about today, and I certainly hope there's a way we can thank those guys that are saving
absolutely.
everything.
That'll come.
I'm sure
it'll come in a few days'
will
time, I think. Yeah.
Work on it, so.
They've done an amazing job altogether. Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for all your hard work too.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So I know you don't want this to be about you because you represent
well, yeah, I'm
the
just
people
one
in
of
Peachland.
1,600 people.
But you know what
been
everybody
evacuated.
feels like here because you're one of the people that's been evacuated from your home. What did that feel like yesterday?
It feels very anxiety-provoking, really, because there's a lot of uncertainty about how dangerous it is, whether you're going to lose your home, and or worse, whether there's going to be any actual injury to people or two. So we're really fortunate that there were, in fact, only 3 homes that have been destroyed and no loss of life at all, including among firefighting staff. So we really have the kind of emergency response teams to be responsible for that, and they've done an amazing job.
And we are getting word that the fire is now 75% contained. This is excellent news. You can see in behind me that the smoke is really cleared. It's very calm right now. The winds are very calm, but about every 90 seconds or so we do see a helicopter go by, so firefighters are still working very, very hard, Mike. And coming up a little bit later on, I have a great story about a rancher who is looking for his very, very small calf.
Coming up right after the break.
He may have lost the battle with an alligator, but see how modern technology just won the war. Next, as CTV News continues.
Coming up, lost in the woods during a wildfire. A rancher's search for a calf missing in a burning forest. We'll go back to Peachland for a live update with Tamara Taggart next. A state of emergency still remains in effect in Peachland tonight as that aggressive wildfire continues to burn. We're going to go back now to Tamara Taggart on assignment in Peachland with our top story. And Tamara, besides the homes there, a lot of livestock under threat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the many people affected by the fire is Carl Wilkes. He runs Wilkes Ranch outside of Peachland, and when the fire was approaching, he loaded his livestock into a truck to take them to safety. But when the truck stopped to help another stranded animal, things got a little complicated and a calf went missing.
Yeah, we have a missing calf. I had about 15 head of
roping cattle that we started to haul out of here last night. And the 2 smaller calves we put on a separate trailer, and that trailer got pulled over and asked if they could haul another horse. There was 1 horse left over at a neighbor's place, and when they opened up the trailer door to try and get this other horse in, the 1 calf jumped out. And so we've been out here all afternoon. We're all since about 8 o'clock this morning trying to find this calf, and it's been spotted probably 6 or 7 times, but we're always about 5 minutes behind it, and we haven't seemed to be able to find it yet. So
are they going to let you go in to look for it?
We're hoping. We're asking the RCMP if I can go back into West Bank and get a couple of my horses and come back in and hopefully go in on horseback and see if we can't spot him, and that's what we're hoping for now.
And how's your ranch? Is everything okay with your home?
Everything's okay with the home. We've been in there because there was 2 horses left there. We went in and fed those earlier on, and everything's still standing. Nothing's burnt. You know, across the road there's quite a bit of damage, but our place is just fine.
And you got all your animals out?
We got everything out last night by about 7 o'clock, so it was good.
Except for the 1 little guy?
Except for the 1 little guy that managed to escape.
And we have some good news. Look what happened just over an hour ago. Carl and his ranch hands found the little 3-month-old calf. Carl says the calf was likely very scared during his night in the burning forests around Peachland. He says he's okay and probably very keen to see his mom again because he's very hungry. Well, stay with CTV for continuing coverage of the fire in Peachland. We'll continue to update the situation online, and we'll be back tonight at 11:30 and first thing tomorrow with CTV Morning Live. For now, let's go back to Mike in Vancouver.
All right, Tamara, thanks very much. Live in Peachland tonight. Thanks for sharing part of your evening with us. Have a great Monday evening. Good night.
Night. We'll see you a little later.